3 words destroyed his entire life. Not, "I hate you." Not, "You're fired." Something far worse. 3 words that exposed why good men always lose to evil ones. And when you hear what they were, you'll understand why playing by the rules is the fastest way to get buried by those who don't. Ready for the words that changed everything? The words are, "Nice guys finish." But they never told you the rest of that sentence. The part they hide because it would break society if everyone knew it. Nice guys finish last. Always. Forever. Without exception. And in the next few seconds, I'm going to show you why being good is actually a form of suicide in a world built by predators. Wait, before I reveal the psychological weapon that turns kind men into kings and good people into gods, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what you're about to learn will kill the weak version of you and birth something they'll never see coming. Something they can't manipulate. Something they'll fear without understanding why. You play by the rules. You keep your head down. You try to be good, honest, reasonable. And yet, you feel powerless. People walk over your silence. They twist your kindness into weakness. You stay loyal while they stay calculating. You show your heart while they sharpen their knives. And here's the truth that'll make your blood boil. They don't care how good you are. They only care how much control you have. Comment below. When was the last time being nice actually got you what you deserved? I'll wait, because we both know the answer. Never. Being nice got you used. Being good got you ignored. Being honest got you exploited. And you're sick of it. You're done being their doormat dressed up as a good person. Here's what nobody tells you. You've lived like a man, but men get broken every day. What survives isn't humanity. It's something else. Something colder. Something they can't touch, can't read, can't destroy. There's a moment when a man stops asking, "Why me?" and starts asking, "Why not them?" When he stops chasing approval and starts becoming the storm others have to survive. That moment, that's your rebirth. And Machiavelli called it one thing: God mode. No emotion clouding your judgment. No guilt weakening your moves. No second-guessing polluting your power. Just pure strategy, wrapped in silence, delivered without mercy. You become the one they cannot predict, cannot manipulate, cannot touch. Drop a comment if you're ready to stop being prey and start being predator. Because this isn't about becoming evil. It's about transcending good and evil entirely. It's about becoming something more dangerous than both, becoming effective, becoming inevitable, becoming the person who writes the rules instead of following them. Subscribe if you want to learn how to activate God mode in your own life. Because I'm about to show you exactly how to become psychologically untouchable, strategically invisible, and emotionally invincible. This isn't motivation. This is transformation. This isn't self-help. This is self-elevation to a level most humans never reach. But first, let me tell you about the night everything changed. The night a good man realized that goodness was actually his cage. He'd spent years being loyal, honest, kind. Then he watched a liar get his promotion, a manipulator steal his girl, a backstabber take credit for his work. And instead of getting angry, he got curious. He asked the question that would destroy his old life. What if being good is actually the problem? Before you become powerful, you must first destroy the part of you that needs to be seen. Read that again. Let it sink in. Because the need for recognition, that's the first chain they'll use to control you. Machiavelli watched kingdoms fall not because kings lacked strength, but because they craved applause. They needed to be loved, admired, validated. And that need, it became their noose. Comment right now, what's one thing you've done recently just for recognition? Be honest, because that thing you just thought of, that's exactly where your enemies will strike. They'll use your hunger for approval like a remote control, making you dance for crumbs of validation while they feast on real power. God mode begins with invisibility, not physical, psychological. You stop performing for applause and start producing results. Quietly, strategically, without needing anyone to notice. Machiavelli said it best. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. So let them see nothing while you build everything. Here's what changes when you stop needing recognition. Your moves become unpredictable because they're not designed for audience reaction. Your power multiplies because you're not wasting energy on image management. Your enemies lose their primary weapon because you can't be baited with ego. You become a ghost with impact. invisible but undeniable. The truly dangerous man isn't the one screaming for attention. It's the quiet one whose plans you discover only after they've already won. That's who you're becoming. Not loud but lethal. Not visible but vital. Not praised but powerful. Subscribe if you're ready to disappear from their radar while taking over their world. But here's the paradox that breaks most people's brains. The less you chase recognition, the more recognition chases you. The less you need approval, the more approval you command. The less you care about being seen, the more unforgettable you become. Because mystery multiplies power while visibility invites vulnerability. You want proof? Think about the most powerful person you know. Not the richest or most famous, the most powerful. I bet they're quiet. I bet they rarely explain themselves. I bet you know their name but not their game. That's intentional. That's architecture. That's God mode in action. Drop a comment. Who's someone you know that has power without ever seeming to try? Because that person understands what I'm about to teach you. Power isn't about being seen as powerful. It's about being felt as powerful. And feeling happens in silence, in spaces between words, in the things you don't say and don't do. Now here's where it gets dark. The second principle of God mode will disturb the weak and liberate the strong. You ready? You don't need to raise your voice to control people. You only need to control what they feel when you're in the room. And that feeling must be fear. Not terror that makes them run. Not rage that makes them fight. But fear, the sophisticated kind that makes them careful. Comment if you've ever noticed how some people just command respect without asking for it. Their presence shifts the whole energy. Conversations change when they arrive. People choose words more carefully. That's not accident. That's engineering. They've programmed themselves into others' nervous systems as someone not to cross. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. Men have less scruple in offending one who makes himself loved than one who makes himself feared. Why? Because love is optional. Respect is negotiable. But fear is primal. Fear bypasses logic and goes straight to behavior. Fear doesn't need explanation, it just works. Subscribe right now because I'm about to teach you the 4-step process to become psychologically untouchable. This isn't about being cruel. It's about being calculating. It's about making your presence so strategically powerful that people adjust their behavior before you even speak. Step 1. Become strategically unpredictable. Predictable people are controllable people. If they know when you'll smile, what makes you angry, how you'll react, they own you. Break the pattern. Let your silence make them nervous. Let your approval become rare. Let your reactions be calculated, not emotional. They should never know what you're thinking, ever. Step 2. Be disproportionate occasionally. Stay calm 95% of the time. But that 5%, when someone truly crosses your boundaries, deliver consequences that echo. Not emotional explosions, that's weakness, but calculated consequences. Cut access, withdraw opportunity, disappear from their world. Make the punishment so memorable they restructure their entire approach to you. Comment below. Have you ever seen someone deliver consequences so cold it changed everyone's behavior? That's power. Not the loud kind that makes enemies. The quiet kind that makes believers. The strategic kind that turns potential opponents into obedient allies who police themselves to stay in your good graces. Step 3. Weaponize your absence. Nothing creates more psychological tension than unexpected absence. When you're supposed to be somewhere and you're not. When they expect your response and get silence. When they need your presence and find empty space. Absence makes them think about you more than presence ever could. Step 4. Never explain, never defend. The moment you justify your decisions, you give others the illusion of input. They don't deserve explanations. Let them wonder. Let them create theories. Let them fill your silence with their own fears. Because people fear most what they don't understand. And understanding is a gift you no longer give freely. This is how you condition their nervous system. Not through aggression but through atmosphere. Not through violence but through void. You become the person they think twice about before crossing. The one they rehearse conversations with. The one whose approval feels like victory and whose disapproval feels like death. Subscribe because the next principle will show you why visible power is actually weakness in disguise. Here's what destroys most rising kings. They want credit for their kingdoms. They need everyone to see them winning. But Machiavelli knew better. Power becomes vulnerable the moment it's visible. The more they see you pulling strings, the easier it is to cut them. That's why true power moves like smoke everywhere and nowhere, felt but never caught. The highest form of control happens in silence. You don't give orders, you create conditions where people think your ideas were theirs. You don't demand credit, you design outcomes that benefit you regardless of who gets praised. You don't fight battles, you arrange the board so conflict becomes unnecessary. Comment if you've ever met someone who seems to win without trying. They're not lucky, they're architects. They build their influence into the structure itself. They win before the game starts because they helped write the rules. That's God mode thinking, not playing harder, but playing higher. Think about this. The advisor who whispers to the king holds more power than the king himself. The king is visible, attackable, replaceable. But the shadow is immortal. It can attach to any throne, guide any ruler, shape any outcome. Because true power isn't about sitting in the chair, it's about controlling who does. Here's your new approach. Let others chase titles while you chase influence. Let them fight for positions while you build relationships with whoever wins. Let them scream for attention while you quietly become essential to outcomes. They'll exhaust themselves in the spotlight while you accumulate control in the shadows. The most dangerous person in any organization isn't the CEO. It's the one everyone goes to for real answers. The one who knows where bodies are buried. The one whose opinion shapes decisions before meetings happen. That person might have a modest title, but they have absolute power. Become that person. Subscribe now because I'm about to reveal why your reputation matters more than your reality. You think power is about what you do. Think again. Power is about who they think you are. Your reputation isn't just your calling card. It's your psychological weapon. It enters rooms before you do. It fights battles while you sleep. It makes enemies hesitate and allies volunteer. But here's what nobody teaches. Reputation isn't built on truth. It's built on perception. Machiavelli knew this game. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. So you craft an image that serves your purposes. Not fake strategic. You become selectively visible, showing only what strengthens your position, hiding what could be used against you. Drop a comment. What's one thing about you that you let people believe that isn't entirely true? Because that's not deception, that's discretion. The world doesn't deserve your full truth. It deserves the version of you that gets results. The version that makes them careful. The version that wins without explaining how. Your reputation should be like armor made of rumors. Strong enough to protect you, mysterious enough to intimidate, flexible enough to adapt. People should know enough to respect you but never enough to predict you. They should have stories about you that you've never confirmed or denied. Because uncertainty amplifies power. Here's how you build an untouchable persona. Give them fragments, never the full picture. Be consistent in your principles but unpredictable in your methods. Show strength when they expect weakness. Show kindness when they expect cruelty. But never show everything. Ever. The goal isn't to be liked or even understood. It's to be unopposed. When people speak your name, their voice should change. Not from fear of what you've done, but from uncertainty about what you might do. That's how you become larger than life, by never letting life define you completely. Subscribe because the next section will teach you the hardest lesson of all. How to kill your emotions without losing your soul. Now we reach the final chain, the hardest one to break. Not fear, not weakness, but emotion itself. Listen closely because this will separate those who rise from those who remain slaves. As long as decisions come from feelings, you're controllable. As long as anger, love, guilt, or pride drive your choices, you're still a puppet, just with invisible strings. Machiavelli never trusted emotion. He studied it, used it, weaponized it, but never let it use him. Why? Because emotion is the remote control your enemies use to make you dance. They insult you to make you reactive. They praise you to make you soft. They threaten what you love to make you weak. But what happens when emotions stop controlling you? Comment below what emotion has cost you the most in life. Anger that made you burn bridges? Love that made you blind? Pride that made you stubborn? Fear that made you freeze? That emotion owns part of you. And until you take ownership back, you'll never reach God mode. Here's the transformation. You still feel everything, but act on nothing without strategy. Someone betrays you, you smile, file the information, and respond when the timing serves you. Someone insults you, you thank them for revealing their weakness while planning their professional funeral. Someone threatens what you love, you become the coldest calculator they've ever met. This isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming strategic with your heart. Emotion becomes data, not commands. Pain becomes information about boundaries. Anger becomes fuel for planning. Love becomes selective rather than reflexive. You feel it all, but you're enslaved by none of it. The world will call you cold. Let them. They'll say you've lost your humanity. You've actually found your sovereignty. They'll claim you're ruthless. You're just no longer ruled by feelings that change with weather. You've graduated from reaction to response, from impulse to strategy, from human to something more evolved. Subscribe right now because the final section will show you how to maintain God mode without becoming the monster they expect. Here's the final test, the one that breaks kings and builds gods. Once you taste power, once you operate from God mode, the world will try to pull you back down. Not through attack but through comfort. They'll offer you acceptance if you just soften a little. Recognition if you just explain yourself. Love if you just become human again. Don't fall for it. This is the last trap. The moment you step back into their frame, you lose everything you've built. The moment you need their approval again, you've given them your remote control. The moment you explain your methods, you've revealed your mortality. Machiavelli watched princes win wars, then lose kingdoms because they wanted to be loved by the people they'd conquered. They traded fear for affection and got neither. Because once people stop fearing you, they start testing you. Once they think they know you, they believe they can beat you. Stay above their frame. Permanently. You're no longer playing their game, you're playing yours. You don't need their understanding because you're not operating on their level. You don't crave their approval because you've transcended their judgment. You don't explain your moves because gods don't report to mortals. Comment if you're ready to stay in God mode permanently. Because this isn't a temporary transformation. It's an evolution. You don't go back to being prey after becoming predator. You don't return to chains after tasting sovereignty. You don't rejoin the masses after rising above them. Your final form, present but untouchable, visible but unreadable, known but never truly known. You influence without trying. Control without commanding, win without competing. Because you're no longer in the game, you've become the game itself. Others play by rules. You play with rules. Others hope for outcomes. You design them. This is God mode fully activated. You're psychologically invisible. They can't read you. You're strategically fearsome. They won't cross you. You're emotionally sovereign. They can't trigger you. You're reputationally untouchable. They can't define you. You've become what Machiavelli envisioned. Not cruel but clinical, not evil but evolved, not inhuman but beyond human. Now the question becomes, what will you build with this power? Will you use it to destroy those who destroyed your innocence? Will you build empires on the ashes of your former weakness? Will you become the architect of outcomes, the shadow behind thrones, the force that shapes reality while others argue about it? Subscribe to this channel if you're done being society's victim. Hit the bell to join others who've chosen power over popularity. Share this with someone still trapped in their nice guy prison. They won't understand it yet, but when they're ready, they'll thank you. And remember, they called Machiavelli evil because he exposed the game. They'll call you evil when you start winning it. Let them. Their opinions stopped mattering the moment you activated God mode. You're not here for their approval anymore. You're here for their obedience, whether they realize they're giving it or not. Welcome to the other side. Welcome to psychological sovereignty. Welcome to God mode. Population. Only those strong enough to kill their former selves and smart enough to hide the body. The weak will fear you. The smart will study you. The powerful will respect you. And you'll be too busy building kingdoms to care. The transformation is complete. Now go become what they never saw coming. Become inevitable.